All right. Hey, guys, welcome to this episode of the Rip Griffin Show. Today, I'm joined by a special guest. He is the commissioner of the South Coast Baseball League, Drake MacKenzie. Drake, how you doing, man?
Doing terrific. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you taking the time to come on with me to talk about the league and how everything got started. So just want to kind of jump into it and, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became commissioner of the league.
I'm from Michigan, and my background is actually in hockey. That's where I grew up. I played that for most of my life. And obviously in the summer was, in Michigan, we have to split our seasons. We're not like in Texas where we can do pretty much anything year round. From when I was about 6 and 7, the time of my stepdad came into my life, baseball was kind of my second passion. And I grew up a Tigers fan, so I'll forgive you for wearing an Astros hat today. Once I left, I played hockey for a while. And once I got out of that, I kind of I still wanted to play competitively. And as I started getting out into the world, I realized that there's a huge market for a lot of people that still want to play competitively, but don't, there are things that with minor league baseball where they don't want to travel across the country. Or they don't want to play and practice 6-7 days a week. And especially down here in Texas and, throughout the South where we're at, there's so much talent here that really there was no need for us to bring in outside sources or anything like that. So that's kind of where it got started. And it was kind of like a lifelong passion. You ever seen The Sandlot? I'm assuming most of your viewers and you have.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was my childhood growing up. And I'm not even halfway joking about that. So we got to build our own ballpark where I was from in Michigan. And that kind of it's always been something I wanted to do, is not so much play in a baseball league, but run a baseball league, because there's just something about it. There's something special about, good old fashioned hardball that I just love.
It's more pure when you think about it. That the movie with Kevin Costner, For Love of the Game.
Yeah.
That is where a lot of that backwoods, true love, true grit of the game comes from. And that's awesome to hear that the league that you're commissioner of brings that mentality, because I think a lot of the times it's forgotten. There's too much, almost political, honestly, but coming back to the roots of America's pastime is refreshing to hear with you and the league that you're a part of. So let me kind of ask you this. When did you start the league, or did you start the league or
Yeah.
Okay. When did you establish the league?
So I actually went through my first, obviously, like I said, my background is in hockey, and it's always been my first joy in life, I should say. And I tried to do something similar to this in Michigan, and I got in kind of with some wrong people that, kind of the opposite of what we're talking about, where you have people that, want to do this for the love of the game and because it is so pure. I got into some people that weren't there for that reason, and it got destroyed. So I actually came down here with some family in February, and I was kind of looking for what do I want to do next project wise. And, I stumbled here. I'm in Bryan, Texas right now. That's where my headquarters is at.
Okay.
And we stumbled upon, an old ballpark here, and that kind of got me thinking. And that really was April. I'm like, okay, I already have most of the plan of how I want things to operate put together. It was just kind of rotating that into a baseball league, not so much a hockey league. It's kind of a different marketing scheme we'd use. But, and then the more research I did, and the more you see places like Laredo and Robstown, and Cleburne and Grand Prairie that had these beautiful ballparks, and they've been more receptive than I've never seen anything like it. Just, oh yeah, we'd love to have this. We love the local thing. And that's kind of where it started. And that, the communities like that really pushed this to a new level. Abilene is another one, or Abilene. I'm still learning the names. Beaumont, and, the places that we've really dealt with thus far have been nothing short of the best people I've ever talked to.
That's awesome. Have you been to the Bluebell Park there in College Station?
Yeah, we've been in there a few times. Obviously, nothing to see anything official, but we've been, I'll be able to walk around and kind of see what it's like. And I can't wait till they start playing again, because I've heard the crowd is just insane here.
I haven't been to a game personally, but seeing the pictures of the stadium, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's another one in Frisco that's where the Rangers AA affiliate is at. That's another gorgeous stadium, Round Rock, in where the my mind went blank, and I should know this.
Express.
The Express. I should know this. But
All right.
that's, a lot of these good stadiums they're beautiful ballparks. So that's awesome that you're kind of getting into the affiliates of all those and kind of exploring that part of, uh, Texas baseball, honestly.
Well, not to interrupt, but kind of like what you were saying, there's a little bit of that. I think baseball misses that more than anything. Where, my dad and I talked a lot about why baseball isn't, why the generation behind me isn't connecting as much as they used to baseball. And I think a lot of that has to do is it's like you said, a lot more political and a lot more copy and paste, and not so much the nitty gritty, the old school, like this is your home, this is where you play. And I think we've lost a lot of that in baseball. There's no other sport, and that's including hockey, which is my love, but there's no other sport that has a history like baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, I think they've forgotten a lot of that. And I'm hoping to kind of bring some of that back, some of that old school, crazy, Texas John King type baseball back. So.
No, man, that's awesome to hear. It's like I said, it's refreshing. I was out with the Armadillos on Sunday, while talking to those guys and seeing those guys in their tryouts and everything, and just talking to them. And these guys are excited to bring baseball back to my town, which is Victoria. But this city is a baseball town, and the guys that are running this organization are first class. They're awesome. They're welcoming. I appreciate everything that they did for me on Sunday to let me come out there. So, but that's kind of where baseball needs to go. It needs to go back to the roots, the pastime, the guys that played the game because they weren't really concerned of the paycheck, but more for the love of the game. But,
Sure.
So I was on your website earlier, and I noticed that like a lot of the leagues, like the Frontier League, for example, they play the American, or even the Atlantic Coast League, they play in the summer. Is there kind of a reason why the league is going to be played in the fall?
Yeah, actually, it came that way out of more of a necessity. It opens me up to play wherever I want to play. And with down here, it's the weather is serviceable enough where you can do that. And then I'm not competing, I think you can oversaturate a market. I don't think there's any bad markets. I think there's bad marketing. But when it comes to playing in places like Victoria, if we competed with their collegiate league team there and played at the same time, I think we'd run into where the people just don't want to go out to games because they've been to 20, in the last 2 weeks. So that's kind of where if we stay in the winter, there's never a bad time for baseball. And I think we can, obviously you can pick better places and, and we've dealt with, obviously with minor league baseball, talking about cutting 42 minor league teams, with most of them being in the South. That also kind of, we've been welcomed a lot of places throughout like Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia that want to see that as well. So, and it allows, again, kind of the long-term thing is that it's easier to get in with these cities when you say, look, we're only in the winter. Your main tenants, your big money, big minor league teams are going to be here in the summer. So we're out of your way. So it never really affects us, and we can kind of live on our own island, and I can kind of dictate how I want things to go.
Okay. That makes perfect sense, especially when you look at it from a marketing perspective. So, I was kind of also looking now, when I was talking to the guys on Sunday from the Armadillos, do you think that maybe not right now, maybe say 5-6 years, whatever, do you foresee the South Coast Baseball League becoming a affiliate for Major League Baseball? Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not, and it's kind of a goal, but it's also kind of something I would loosely consider. I like being independent. I think once you start being, confined into an organization, if you've on Netflix, if you've ever watched The Battered Bastards of Baseball, they talk about the Portland Mavericks being independent, the only independent team, at the time, and how they were able to kind of build their own, legacy by being their own thing. And I think you would lose a lot of that if you had to compete with organized baseball. Now that being said, I would love to see Major League Baseball eventually send us, prospects to work out during the winters. And I would love to see that, but I also still want to be our own thing and decide our own course in our own thing like that.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's a. Um, I know there's with like you mentioned with a lot of the minor league teams that are kind of being cut, unfortunately. Um, so this kind of opens the door just in case to have that. Uh, oh, what's the word? You be a prospect basically to get established and kind of work that in here in the futures, which will be exciting for a lot of the towns like you mentioned, like Victoria, Beaumont. And across the Gulf Coast. So kind of the big thing that, of course, we've got this pandemic thing going on right now. So what kind of protocols or what kind of things do you envision putting into place if for some reason the fall comes around and we're still kind of in the same situation that we're in now?
So we already, and we had a meeting earlier tonight, and we did talk about we are not going to play till January now.
Okay.
And that's simply just because with going after sponsors, we're losing valuable time. This is not going to be over in July, and it probably will not be over in August. And I think we're going to lose a lot of what we should be able to get in sponsorships because of that. So kind of what that does to us is, we have to push back our timetable to when we want to play. So really what this season is going to work out to be, and it actually works out better for us, is it's going to be a test season. It's not so much the marketing schemes and the sales teams that I'm worried about, but it's, when you have, 12 teams or, upwards of that are very green and have to learn like the ins and outs of, having people come to the doors and making sure they're having a good time and service. Obviously, this is a good chance for them to learn before we are running full tilt.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, given the situation that we're in, it's not very fortunate right now, but
terrible time to start a league.
I started this podcast in February, kind of gearing up for baseball to start. Then the pandemic hit, and they shut everything down. So it kind of came into, well, what am I going to talk about now? So I kind of met some people along the way, had some guests come on. So we're just keeping it going. I think that's all we can do for right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even in a perfect world, we were probably pushing it to try to start when we did. Typically, in my experience, it does take about 8 to 10 months to do a proper sales run. And we were condensing that into like 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Which it is possible. And I've done it and I've seen it done before, but I don't want to say it never turns out right, but it never turns out as good as it could, and that's so. And our whole mantra was, if COVID shuts down, we anticipated Major League Baseball not coming back. So we were our whole mantra was, well, we'll just, we'll be there in the winter. It'll be the first baseball that anybody sees. And even and we're still talking to the Texas Rangers about perhaps playing a few games in their new ballpark, not the old one, which is still on the table. But unfortunately, fortunately, Major League Baseball didn't cancel. So it kind of was like, well, at this point, we'll just tone it back a little bit and, make sure we do this right.
Right. Let me ask you this. Do you think if Major League Baseball hadn't gone through all of their quote unquote back and forth, do you think maybe we might have had baseball sooner?
No, I think they were also watching what like the NBA and the NHL did. Obviously their seasons were interrupted, towards like their peak time. So they were kind of watching to see what they did. And I don't think, as much as, Rob Manfred and the rest of them, the Players Association had their arguments, I think that was more of them watching and being cautious to make sure they made the right decision when it came to that.
Do you think that maybe they should do a better job when it comes to testing, because players are starting to basically not show up to practice because their tests aren't coming back? I mean,
so all politics aside, because I'm not I don't want to get into my political stance on this whole thing, but anyways, I really honestly, and it pains me to say this because, being both a baseball and a hockey fan, it'd be awesome to see both of them going at their peak, at the same time. I think they both should have just canceled. Just forget it, take a year, bite the bullet. It would have gone a lot better. I think this is not going to be the same type of season. I think anybody that wins a World Series this year gets a little bit of an asterisk. Because how many times have in the past 25 years have you seen a team go on a hot, even a hot half season. You know, I think of the Nationals the first year they moved to Washington. You know, they were first place in the NL East, you know, on July 4th. And they finished
Yeah.
dead last. You know, anything can happen. And although it'll be fun to watch as a fan, I don't think from a historical perspective you can count these guys as real World Series champions.
That's interesting because there's a lot of back and forth, whether some say, yeah, hey, it's still a World Series, but then there's a lot that say, because there's players that are opting out right now. And, a lot of what I hear is, players or teams, they want to play against the best. So if Mike Trout opts out, what's that going to do to if the Angels, quote unquote, win the World Series, So I don't know, this whole up and down thing is just crazy.
Well, yeah, it's from a historical standpoint, which is what you can really judge baseball on. You know, it's not the 162 or 142 game season, that has historically been played. And that's part of what makes baseball is such a tough sport, is you have to play so many games. And 60 games in a baseball season is nothing.
Right.
So I don't. It'll be fun to watch as a fan to see no fans there and kind of the weirdness of that. But I don't think it'll be. I don't think historically you're gonna be able to look at these guys and say yes, they're World Series champions.
So, that's a fair enough. I mean, it's a season like we've never seen before.
Sure.
So, but one thing I noticed that on your website is the ease in which owners can own a team.
Yeah.
So it kind of explain how I mean, I don't know if you're still looking for owners or whatnot, but explain kind of how the process works for an owner to get set up for a franchise.
I'm glad you asked, because we do get a lot of questions about that. And if you go look through all the comments, you'll see at least 30 people, it's a scam, or stuff like that. Well, the idea is if I had my way, it would be free. But the issue that I've ran into in the past is that, if you have it be free, anybody's gonna, a lot of people can smooth talk their way into sounding like somebody that's, oh, I can do that. And then, we get into October and November and we're, waiting on them to produce, and they're not doing anything because, well, I don't love you, whatever they do. Whereas if you're willing to put a little skin in the game, I have a little bit more faith in you initially that you are someone that is able to go and get the stuff done that you have to be done and required with. And that's the other thing that people are confusing with. A lot of people think that's, we get a lot of messages too of people thinking it's a passive investment where, they just put $250 in and they're going to make $100,000. Well, no, I mean, you have to go out and you have to build a staff. You have to find a GM and a president to help with your sales and marketing and your team building. And you have to there's a certain number of sponsorships you have to hit by, a certain amount of time, and so on and so forth. And it's certainly not, a cakewalk. And I think a lot of people think, the $250 thing is a little mystifying because it's more, we just want the right people. And typically, like I said, if you're willing to put skin in the game, I have a little bit more confidence in you that you think you can do this. So, not that it's a lot of money, but it's enough to where I feel. And the other thing too is why it's so cheap is I don't want millionaire owners. You think about McDonald's in the past. They didn't go after, the rich country club people. They went after people that, hardworking everyday people. And I think, again, in baseball, I think that type of owner has been long gone for a long time, where your local guy owns your local team. And I kind of want to see that back. And that's another way of us being able to do that is basically, I mean, we've been bogged down with 30 interviews a day talking to people about, we're going to have 64 teams. I mean, and we're putting quite a bit of money into marketing on Facebook. So it's going to come, it's a good way to reach out to people. So we've had a lot of interest, which is great. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I can understand, how some people might be skeptics, but I mean, I think that's their knee-jerk reaction.
Sure.
Without actually getting the full facts. And I still think what you're doing is great, especially not for baseball, but also for the community. So how does the league kind of tie in to the community aspect or should I say, kind of give back to the community?
I'm glad you asked. That's the one thing that I did pride myself on that we're doing. So we have 6 games a year that we call Pack the Park games, which are where most of our marketing focus goes. And they're all, with the exception of opening day, charity games. So this year, well, not this half season, but our first full season in 2021, we're going to do a military night, a cancer night. We're going to do my favorite giveaway that we came up with, and this is our director of communications came up with this, and I love it. It's we're going to do basically a teacher's night where we're going to wear like the last names of teachers that the town can nominate. And all the money we raise that night and from the jersey auction that we'll do after that, we're going to go and donate whatever we make to pay for kids' lunches.
Nice.
And it's sort of little things like that. And plus, I get to do, all right, so growing up, when I played juniors in hockey, we did this thing called a ugly sweater night and a teddy bear toss, which is when we scored our first goal, the crowd would throw teddy bears onto the ice. So we're going to do that, but in baseball form. So we're going to have ugly sweater baseball jerseys that each team is going to wear.
Okay.
And the first team, or when the home team scores the first run, everybody gets to throw their teddy bear onto the field, and we donate it to a local kids charity.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So it's little things like that even I kind of get a little smart, like, man, that's pretty cool. And I don't want to toot my horn, but I'm like, that's really cool, man. Like you can't beat that sort of thing. And the other thing that I came up with is during batting practice, and this is when I was a season ticket holder for the Tigers, my family was, I used to say, we would go to batting practice, which is the best time ever. I got to talk to Justin Verlander, which I'm mad that you guys stole him.
You gotta hate that 11:59 August 31st trade deadline there.
I don't ever want to talk about that again. When we lost to the Giants in the World Series in 2012, I cried. I literally sat. I was so mad. Been through so much, and I just couldn't pull off a World Series win. But anyways, so during batting practice, the baseballs that we have that we hit and throw around, the players are all required post batting practice to throw them up into the crowd, so the kids get something to take home. And that's something that's pretty near. And I've gotten more than a few balls from batting practice, and I thought that'd be something to have players go do. You could really make a kid's day that way.
I all the times that I went to baseball games, I never got a foul ball. So to hear that I would still consider myself a kid at heart, but to hear that, to hear that kids can, because that's what breaks the memories, and that's what brings them back to the game and as they grow older. So that's great to hear as well.
Yeah, and there's just, so our big one too, I guess, around the Christmas time, because obviously, that's when everybody's at their most charitable, and I get a little bit more, I get a bigger heart, kind of like the Grinch. Around Christmas, my heart grows a little bit. But one of the big things that we're going to do is a Shop with a Pro event, which, we're going to give, each player $100 to go pick out typically an underprivileged kid and go out and take them Christmas shopping, give them $100, go buy whatever you want from the toy store.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that's, again, little things like that you never know, because it really is. This all started from, one guy tossing me, a puck at a hockey game when I was 5, and that started my lifelong love of sports. And you never know if I can find, another me at age 5, coming, and 20 years later, he's like, hey, I want to work with you. I have all these great ideas, and he takes us to another level. So you have to treat every fan like there's something special, because you never know when that one is that special. So.
That's awesome to hear. And I wish Major League Baseball would have that same mentality. But that's a whole different argument right there.
For hours about that.
Hours for sure. But that's great, because that's what, like I said, that's what brings kids back to the game when they grow older. They have those memories with their family or their loved ones, and so I think everything that you've got built up so far is fantastic, and I think it's going to do wonders in the communities that you've got teams in. So I think you talked about your sponsors. what different areas or ranges do you have as far as sponsorships?
So we have 4 levels of sponsorships. Like you're talking like what we sell. Is that what you're going after?
Yeah, like I mean, like ads or signs on the center field walls, or
So
what
yeah,
what kind of packages? There we go,
sure.
packages.
And that's what, yeah, I guess. So you were right on target there, what I was going for too. So one thing I learned in my days doing sales and promotions is that the more you can sell, the better, and for the less amount of price. So our top level package, which is, a giant 10-foot outfield sign, you know, advertising airtime, a full page ad in our yearbook and our programs, and a whole host of other things. It starts at $5,000, and that's as expensive as we get, and we get all the way down to $500. And there are 4 packages: gold, or diamond, gold, silver, bronze.
Oh wow.
And they really, all of them pack so much stuff into them, whether it's advertising on the air or, infield signage or signs in the bathroom or the concession stands or, the hallways, different things like that you look at it, you're like, okay, I'm getting the most bang for my buck. And then we kind of do our big ones. Our gold and diamond are our game day sponsors, where we actually invite your company out and they get to sit, they get to pick a little club area. So like places like Victoria and Bryan that don't have actual club areas, that have like a picnic deck, you get to sit out there for the game, and we feed you, and whatever drinks you want is on the house, and really take care of you that game. And then obviously as silver and, and bronze, they don't have that stuff because we ran out of games for that. But there's a lot of, we put a lot into it to make sure that sponsors are getting the most bang for their buck, and that they are, again, like I hope they feel like they're taken care of.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. So how many teams are going to be in the league this coming season?
So for our half season, we're going to have approximately, well, it could be 12 to 16. It really depends. We have some late comers to the party, and it really depends on how well we do sponsorship wise.
Okay.
So I play that touch and go right now because nothing this year matters. I want to say in terms of like, we're not going to keep standings and stuff like that. Like historically it's more of a test, but it'll still be the full, like we're going out there and like making sure the players are taken care of. And like, there'll be a big, well, what's it to you about the game? Like it'll be fun, but it's not going to be our full-fledged program. When we get to our full-fledged program in 2021, we're going to have 64 teams from coast to coast.
Wow. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, man, you got lots going on right now, and that's exciting to hear.
Well, it's been fun, and we broke it up into 4 16-team leagues. So we're condensing travel and stuff, but there's a lot of talent here, man. And it's great that we get to showcase it.
It is. Are you going to try to keep everything kind of pretty regional in the way of traveling? Okay.
So Texas and Louisiana are going to be our Central League. Our Western League is California and Arizona. The Southern League is Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, and then Florida is going to be our Eastern League.
Okay, so Florida by itself.
Yeah, we've had so many teams that want to play in Florida. It's not even funny.
Wow, wow, that's crazy, man. Well, I mean, like I said, you've got your hands full, but it's all for a great cause. And for, like I said, for what you're doing, it's fantastic to hear the community involvement, the fan interaction, the memories that you're gonna make with kids, and especially, I mean, also giving these players a chance to try to make a living playing baseball, and hopefully they can continue on and get drafted and one day make it to the show.
Absolutely. That's our hope.
That's awesome here. Well, man, that's pretty much all I got for you. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on, talk about the league, talk about how you got it started. Tell everybody, where can they find you on social media or your website that they can go to check everything out?
So our Facebook right now is the only thing that's active, and it's the South Coast Baseball League. And if you want to look us up online, we're the SouthCoastProBaseballLeague.com.
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and put that in the show notes as well. That way everybody can go and check it out. And man, I'm looking forward to some baseball here pretty soon. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. If there's anything we can do to help out, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help promote for y'all. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. I'll make sure to send you some tickets for some season tickets so you can give those out or use them yourself.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Rip Griffin Show. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to subscribe to the show on all the major podcast platforms. That's going to do it for us. Appreciate it, guys.